here facing there. Here facing off. There we go. Excellent. Okay. There's more. Question number 1. Did you listen to the scripture?
No.
Excellent. Helps if I turn on my mic so everybody can hear. Okay. What's wrong with this? There's something horribly, horribly wrong with this nativity scene. What's wrong with it? What do you got?
Jesus wasn't white.
Jesus wasn't white is probably a fair answer. Not what I was looking for. There's no barn. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit. What else you got? Based on what you might have heard today if you were listening on the scripture, in today's passage, this guy doesn't belong there.
Oh, man.
Because it's only kings. So we've got Mary and Joseph and Jesus and the kings. No shepherds.
Yeah.
Because in Matthew there are no shepherds. In Luke there are no kings. So in both accounts we have different stories about who's there. Why?
Because
They were there at different times.
They were They were there at different times. That's exactly right. In fact, the kings arguably might not have come for almost 2 years, according to the Bible.
So it stays that low for 2 years?
so that's
No.
why he has hair.
That's why he has all that hair.
It's shrinking.
And he's struggling like, hey, I've been here a while. I've been waiting for you guys. It's important to understand that when we read the stories in the Bible about Jesus' birth, they were telling the stories with different things in mind. And in the case of Matthew, he was trying to prove the prophecies, which included the kings, and they did come. They just came later than our nativity scenes would make us believe. We tend to think of a barn, right?
All of them there.
With all of them there and an angel on top and all of those things. Your portrayal was actually pretty accurate because you did just shepherds and angels, right? So that was really good. Kings, like I said, come much later. And if you're celebrating Epiphany, which was technically yesterday,
Oh, okay, cool.
that's the day that the 3 kings traditionally arrived. But not 12 days after Jesus' birth, more like 2 years after Jesus' birth. And you can read just a little further in Matthew and see all the clues to that. I'm going to talk about that with the rest of the congregation while you're off learning something completely different, most likely. But what I want to talk about is when we look at nativity scenes, actually, barns is probably a misstatement. I know, right?
It was a stable.
Well, in ancient Jerusalem, the barn was essentially what we would think of as the garage in a 2 or 3 story house. It was the bottom layer, right at ground level, right below the house. So it wasn't even a barn per se. It was more like,
Lobby.
yeah, there probably wasn't a basement. They didn't do a lot of excavating in the 1st century.
Like, well, I wonder where you put your shoes on the top.
Yeah, something like that.
Coats in the
So it was kind of right under the front step, and then you would go in and walk up to the living areas. But it was kind of that first ground level. And the houses would be built up as a way to create extra safety. So not a traditional barn, not a traditional gathering. Doesn't make any of it less true. It's just about understanding the timing.
Wait, so Jesus was there from one?
No, because the kings don't encounter an angel in the same way. They're led by a star. The angel guides the shepherds, and then an angel appears to Joseph in dreams to give him instruction about where to go next. But we blend those stories together for the sake of making a nice, neat, happy little nativity scene. But in fact, they were 2 very different stories.
It's like meshing 2 timelines together.
Yeah, it's kind of like crossing over all those Star Wars universes.
Well, he was a baby. He probably doesn't have
Well, if you
that
want to hear
yet.
Jesus story. Stick around for the next 8 months, and we'll be talking about that all the way through during his life. So you're good to go. We'll get more of that. But for now, what I want you to understand is kings come as a different time than shepherds come, and all of it was to help understand that it fits together differently. Got it? That's enough for today. Let's pray. Gracious God, thank you
Thank you
for giving us the stories of Jesus.
for giving us the stories of Jesus.
Help us to grow closer
Help us to grow closer
to you and to him.
to you and to Him.
Amen.
Amen.